What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Wrestling with ADHD and Bruce. I am your host, Bruce, and I am so sorry for the lengthy break, but I am back. I had to I had to pretty much just force myself to get back on here because, if you've been paying attention, if you've got ADHD, you may know that you may see that people are just procrastinators, and that is me. But without further ado, without any more procrastination, I would like to introduce you to a man who needs no introduction, but he is totally going to get one. The big, the nasty, the nine fingers Phil.
Look at me make a wiggle a little bit there on the camera.
Heck yeah, you're like waving it. Hi
Waving that
guys.
thing. I can still move it.
Hell yeah.
Hey everyone, Big Nasty Phil here. How's everybody doing here tonight? Hope everybody enjoys this little story session me and Mr. Bruce are fixing to have here.
Hell yeah.
Woo-hoo.
What is going on, Oompaville Lover $69 sign?
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So, that is that. Man, it's been a minute. We talked
That is
about
that.
this for quite a while.
Yeah,
And like I said, it just
several.
it's just one thing led to another, and we got busy and we got to doing other things. Luckily, I saw you on the Shoots and Giggles podcast the other night, and I was like, haha, now I'm gonna shoot my shot.
There we go. Hell, I think me and David both fucking pushed for you to shoot that shot with pushed it a little bit too.
Right, and I do appreciate that. I watched the whole thing, and that was really super cool. Getting a view into the mind of Phil.
It's crazy fucking view to get to.
No, dude,
Try
like
not to
really,
cuss too
like,
much on here.
oh no, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. This is non-affiliated ish.
Gotcha.
I'd like to put over SDU networks and all the channels that we do at this point. And if you want to go ahead and shamelessly plug yourself, that would be 100%. That would be 100% acceptable.
Man, I don't even know what my any of my Twitter. I don't even have Twitter anymore, but I don't know. It's I'm under Philip D. Clark on Facebook.
Heck
Everybody
yeah,
can find me there. That's the main one I do. I think it's ninefingers.phil on maybe Insta, maybe TikTok as well. I'm
heck
not
yeah.
sure. I'm all over the place. You can find me if you really look. Hashtag ninefingers. It'll get you there.
Right.
Post that over there.
Um, if you're like me out there listening, I've been following along with Phil's career for as long as I've been wrestling, and even a couple of years before that. So I started in 2009, and I got out of the Marine Corps in 2007. So a couple of years in between getting out and starting wrestling. I caught a couple of shows. I caught a couple of shows that showcased you and a couple other fellas' skills, which really kind of bolstered my sense of, hey, I could totally do that.
Well, I remember first time I saw you that I remember anyways. You're talking to Cody, who you went to school with, and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that stuff. And I came through somehow, and I got introduced. And here's this guy in a kilt walking through my locker room, or not through the locker room, through the back alley there.
right.
And I think it was at Tuckerman there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the guy in the skirt for all those years. So I was like, wait, who's this guy that's also in a skirt trying to break some societal norms here and all that stuff? And I don't know, I sort of all went from there on that. I was like, oh, he's trying to do something. And then
Right.
I kept hearing you wanted to be in wrestling for a minute, and then you made it happen.
Right. And that's I mean that's the leap for all of us, really.
True.
I I equate wrestling to kind of like you know, fraternities, like a, you know, like Freemasonry. I was in the Freemasons for a while, and I'm still sort of affiliated with a lodge out in California. And you know, we always say, you know, to be one you got to know one, or to be one to ask one. And you know, you don't know, you know, when you before you sort of break into this world, you don't know who a wrestler is, unless you find out by accident, you know. Heck,
Right.
after I'd been wrestling for a little bit, I got with Dirty Little Dave, and then he just happened to actually, my wife's like a distant cousin actually shared a couple of pictures on Facebook of him when he wrestled, and just so happened he had tagged with Dirty Little Dave back in the you know, the late '70s, early '80s, up into probably mid to late '80s. And you know, I contacted him and I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm being, you know, I'm being kind of polished up by this guy, and every time we meet now, we talk about wrestling, and how, you know, the whole old school world of it." So like, yeah, like the thought process there was like, you could have somebody in your, you know, family or friend group that is a professional wrestler, and I don't know, for lack of trying, you know, you may just never even know. So
That's true.
we're
It's
everywhere.
we're everywhere. We're all sorts of weirdos out there. I promise you on that.
Right, right.
You
So the
got me
whole
thinking there. You
yeah,
got me
what's up?
thinking there. Let me side story here for a second since you went talking about Dirty Little Dave in the '70s and '80s. My pops, when growing up with him, in the, you know, from the early to mid '90s on, he uh, he always had a picture of Dirty Little Dave and his brother-in-law Bill Ivy, Ray Ray's
Mhm.
dad, uh, from shows in the early '80s when they were tagging and doing their thing. So I've literally grown up watching Dirt or having Dirty Little Dave's picture in my house, and then, you know, watched him
Right
on
on.
Ozark Mountain and all that shit, and
Oh yeah,
then we
dude,
all got
like
to work together 100 times.
right, right. So like it was really weird, like my whole Dirty Little Dave story is kind of a weird one. Like I so my very first show in wrestling was for MACW. They did a show in Strawberry, and after I had trained and kind of broke into the business, and then I started wrestling at Hoxie, and that was before like traveling era of me.
Sure, sure.
And when you're young in the business and you really don't know a lot of people in the business, you know, you get to that one show and you think, man, this is it. This is all there is to wrestling. And then once you find that glimpse of outside, and there's more and there's more and there's more and there's as much as you want, um, you really start to open the world of wrestling starts to open up to you. And so like growing up in the early '90s, you know, all of us from this area, we grew up watching, you know, Channel 5 Memphis Wrestling, um, all the greats that went through there. And I watched Ozark Mountain Wrestling when they were in Jonesboro. I actually went to a couple of live shows when they were in the Armory before the Armory became part of ASU campus.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I remembered a lot of guys from back then, you know, Midnight Special, Dirty Little Dave, what is it, Colorado Kid, a bunch of those guys. So one night I show up to wrestling and I'm at OCW and I'm getting dressed and I'm standing in the corner, and all of a sudden I see this guy walk in, and he looks familiar as heck. And at the second I was like, nah, that that can't be who I thought it was. That's not him. And uh my buddy Slam, we tagged for several years. he he pulls me over and he says, "What the heck is Dirty Little Dave doing here? He's gonna know we're fakes." He's like, "If there's anybody that's gonna know we're fakes, he's gonna know." And I'm like, "Calm down. I don't think that's him." And dude, for 3 hours, he stood in the locker room with his hands crossed, didn't say a word to nobody, didn't he just kind of looked and watched and was quiet. And so I go out and I do my match, and of course I'm greener than goose shit, so it's god awful. I come back to the back, and I'm looking for somebody to give me some pointers on what I did wrong, because I know I did something wrong. I just, at the time, I was so young, I didn't know what.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me. So couple of days goes by, a week goes by. Next week I show up for training, and when you know it, Dirty Little Dave's there again. And I'm like, holy shit, what is he doing here? And just without even thinking, I just walked up, and I was starstruck because I used to watch him when I was a kid. I used to watch him on TV, Channel 8. And walked up, introduced myself, and he shook my hand, and we talked and just hit up a friendship. And I tell people to this day, like, me and Dirty Little Dave are real good friends, and he always gives me the big suck. And people are like, "Oh, what does that mean? That's kind of weird." And I'm like, "Oh, well, so at training, he was there one night, and he had a notepad, and he was writing down, all the things that people needed to work on. And he got to me, and I was in the ring, and he would call out this and call out that. And the next thing I know, he would write something down. He would look at it and say, okay, try this, write it down. And when I got out of the ring, I asked him, how I did. And he showed me the paper, and beside my name, I just got, like, in big 3-inch letters, like, sucks. So so no. Now, like, it was something that I needed. I needed to hear that, because
sure.
I, at the time when I was green, I had no idea.
Right.
But what I also didn't know was, and it's just something that I do to this day. You kind of be hard with them. You know what I'm saying, and see if it's something that they want to do.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So, instead of, like, crawling into my shell and, like, no, damn, Dirty Little Dave, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I was like, well, how do I fix it? And from that point on, man, he just started slinging knowledge. And I guess, and I learned over time, and now, wrestling for as long as I've been wrestling, I can pick that up. And it's like, if somebody truly wants to learn, they'll ask, because you could tell somebody all day long all the good stuff that they did, but that's not going to make them any better.
No, absolutely not. Thrive off learning what you did wrong.
Right. And then you make it better. And then that window of suck slowly starts to close.
There you go. Goals right there. Get
rid of the suck. But yeah, man, that was, that little tangent there, little story there.
Our little Dirty Little Dave sidebar.
Right, awesome. Little Dirty Little Dave sidebar. There should be more of those.
All your episodes. Yeah, there should be.
Well, everybody, mostly everybody that I've interviewed so far has got one, so I should edit that in here somehow. But wrestling, man, like, when you I feel like we haven't put you over as much as I should.
Like that. David tried to put me over the whole last thing, and I was like, I've been around for a long time. I took some bumps.
But
what
no,
about
like,
this guy? But Bruce, how great are you, though? That's what I did to him the whole time too. That's the whole deal.
Well, you'll get a no sell from me on that one.
No sell. Well,
but you know how it is, man.
How I feel about your work.
Right. And I appreciate that, and it means the world to me, especially because, like, when I came up in the business, you were already full steam ahead. You know what I'm saying? You were already
It was
well.
a pretty good run at that
Right.
point in
You
time.
you were well on your way to being, one of the most respected guys in the locker room and on a card in general. So, like, to hear that from to even, and I was talking to David about this the other day, and I was talking to the wife about this even before that. Um, to call you a peer, it just it means a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate that.
To go
You're
from
you're absolutely a peer, and probably better than me in certain ways in this
no,
world. Fuck.
no, to be a guy that sat in the crowd and watched you work, and now to be in the locker room with you, watching you work through the curtain or on the monitor, dude. It's a crazy feeling. So, uh,
Well, I appreciate it. Now we've all made each other fucking blush and shit.
oh,
Yeah, I mean, I've been around. Like I said, I took some bumps and did a whole bunch of stupid shit in my younger days
right,
too.
right. I like to when I'm discounting all the cool shit that I've done over the years, I just like to tell people that I've seen some shit and I've done some shit. So
done done some terrible, terrible shit. I've done some
my
good stuff and some stuff that
my
I still look on fondly, but
right,
I've done a
right.
bunch of shit.
And I think that's a process. That's just a lot of people, like, they don't realize the process of wrestling. Like,
Yeah,
we don't know the things that we know right now because we started out knowing them.
right.
We know a lot of the things that we know right now because of fucking up as much as we did. Um,
Going through that fucking process for real.
I speak a lot about the Derek King ass chewings. It
I'll
took
show you.
me it took me almost 6 years to realize to just shut your mouth and take them.
Yeah. Yes, sir. All
Yes,
right.
sir. I'll fix it.
All right. Gotcha. Put the
Gotcha.
headphone reference here too.
Right, right.
And I think a lot of my point, or I don't know, a lot of my stuff is comfort area too. Like stayed at one federation for too long when I knew I could go get booked wherever I needed to.
Right, right.
It
And I'm a big proponent of talent dying in comfort.
yeah,
I don't want to I
right.
don't want to be I don't want to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of guys are like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I want to go to a company that I know I'm going to be able to be booked at every single week. I want to get there. I want to wrestle this guy because he's safe and I know that I'm not going to get hurt. I
yeah,
want to when I take my boots off at the end of the night, that's when I'm no longer wrestler number 1,557,672,000 whatever. Um, but how you, like, me personally, I look at that as an absolute nightmare. Like, the test of any man is to go out and get away from your comforts and see how well you thrive, or if you even thrive at all. In my opinion,
yeah,
that's the only way we can measure if what we're doing is worth a damn, or if it's just going through the motions. So.
yeah.
Now don't get me
Uh,
wrong. I run the risk and I make the mistake from time to time of I guess not really overstaying my welcome, but I stick around a long time, and I do that because I want to see everybody on the card succeed. If I
yeah,
know something that someone else doesn't, I'm going to teach it to them if they want to learn it. That way they can, you know, if they don't have to go through the grueling painful process of learning something that I already went through the grueling painful process to learn,
that
in
that one's
context.
right. Yeah. I mean, until somebody, I mean, if they want to learn it, they're going to learn it. But most of the
Right.
time, they've got to go through that process.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I meant. Like, within context, like, I'm not gonna,
yeah,
like, there's certain things like, hey, if you're doing a hip toss wrong, and I did the hip
right.
toss wrong and I hurt myself, hey man,
Yeah,
maybe do it like this. You won't hurt yourself. Uh,
Right.
there's only like a small handful of things that we do that legit hurt, no matter when you do them or no matter how safe you're being. Uh,
Right.
but there's some things that just absolutely should not hurt, and if it is, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
And in that aspect, it's like, people that wrestle without any knee pads on. I've got shitty knees. I don't. That's a
Oh,
horror. That's a horror movie to me, bro.
oh yeah.
I,
I
I,
cringe you just talking about it. God.
every now and then it took me almost 8 years to be able to wrestle without elbow pads, and
Oh,
not really,
still
not.
feels weird.
It does still feel weird, but I
Yeah.
do it from time to time. And after I get done, I'm like, God, why did you do that? Oh man, it looked cool. My
Exactly.
arms looked my arms looked bigger tonight than they do normally, so I just wanted to kind of show
Right.
them off a little bit.
There you
Um,
go. But
but
yeah.
yeah, just little things like that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I still feel like some lessons are best learned the hard way.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Um,
not even best learned. Like leaving them out there. You can try to explain stuff to
right, right,
people.
right.
So
Like, look,
what?
hey, you're gonna run into this, but this is what you don't do.
Yeah, and still a lot of them aren't going to get it until they fall right into that trap too.
Oh, this is what
And
he meant by that.
right,
I'm
hindsight
having
being
a I'm
2020,
having
unfortunately.
a I'm having a shitty day, and it's because I didn't understand what he was talking about, or I didn't ask the question that I should have asked.
There you go. I always look for that.
Right, right. Or and sometimes it's those questions that you would never even think to ask, and it's just, I guess it's the way of the universe just kind of putting you in the place that you need to be to learn the thing that you need to learn at that moment. Like, shit, why didn't that question dawn on me when I was getting told that?
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah,
and then
little,
five
little
minutes
what's
thinking
up?
5 minutes late. Thinking 5 minutes later, the next day, like you reanalyze it, like ADHD stuff,
Oh, bro, like,
and
yes, I'm
go
glad
into it.
you.
God, why didn't I bring this up then? Because this,
Yeah, yeah,
I
it could have
or
helped
think of
so
it
much.
on the drive to the place, and then like, hey, I got to ask you this, and not, and you're like,
Right,
ah,
right. I used to, and I still do, sort of. I keep a little notepad with me and a pen.
yeah,
Uh, a lot of guys like the we were talking earlier about like not having internet or whatnot.
yeah,
Today was Facebook apocalypse. A couple of weeks ago, it was AT&T apocalypse. Uh,
got hit by both. Yeah,
right, right. Uh, and I was just fine, but I had people that I work with that are way younger than me. They were like, "Oh my god, I
yeah,
can't get on my phone," and I'm like, "Hey guys, we didn't always have cell phones. We didn't always have the internet." So speaking of that, like, that's why I keep a pen and paper with me, because what if I'm a jackass and I don't charge my phone and I need to write something down? I got a question to ask. I want to know. Hey, I saw a cool move that you did. I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna remember to ask you about that. Um, but yeah, little things like that, that are always happening. And I'm glad you brought the thing up about analyzing conversations and different things like that, because as somebody who's wrestled with ADHD my entire life, and I'll be 41 this year. I always, every conversation, in fact, what we're doing right now, I will go back and in my head, and I will pretty much just beat myself up about it. Why did you say
yeah,
that? Why didn't you say that? Why didn't you let him
yeah,
talk here? This would have been a good part to, just little things. You over analyze and
right.
over evaluate conversations and stuff like that. Uh, Little peek
Do you
behind the
do you
curtain.
do it? What do you? Obviously, after the conversation, I'm gonna go over it like 4 times in my bed, stay up an extra 2 hours here,
Right, right.
But
I should be
but
sleeping right now, but why did I say that thing?
like as we're going, it's like on this, it's a weird thing, you get in a conversation in person, it wouldn't be as bad, but we're here on on this camera thing, and it's like, oh man, what should I talk here? What should I talk about? Or, it's
Right, right.
just a
And that's why I try not to have too much of a format with this. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got the little ticker on here, and like, I know I said that the 5 questions that I wrote are going to be closer
Sure.
to the end because they kind of lead
Yeah,
into
yeah.
one another, and it kind of carries the conversation along. But I told David when I first talked about doing this, like I don't want to have the only format I really want to have is two dudes roughly 8 p.m. talking about ADHD
Yeah. And our experiences with it and
and our
wrestling with it.
experiences with it. Yeah, yeah. And I love like the whole wrestling with ADHD thing because in
It's a
our day
catchy title, I
it
think.
is well
It is.
in our day-to-day life, like we wrestle with it. We wrestle with all kinds of different things, like adult things. It's a struggle sometimes, and this just kind of adds an extra little juicy layer in between the lasagna that is life, I guess. Well, that'll be something that I go over later and be like, well, why?
Why lasagna? Because it has layers,
Yeah,
man.
it's
It's
like
layers. It's like an onion or something.
it's like an onion or something. But yeah, um, so the gimmick, man, wrestling with ADHD, like how I guess we'll go ahead and get into this. I'm chasing the mouse. Sorry about that. Um, huh? Uh,
Get into it.
First, yeah. First off, I'll just kind of throw. I mean, we'll see how long. There's no time frame on these, so these can go, and we can like do little tangents or whatever. I kind of
Sure,
keep it
sure.
loosey goosey for that. But I will go ahead and start. Hey, what's going on, Mark? I'm glad you could pop in.
Hey, Mark, how y'all doing? Night's
Uh,
going pretty amazing.
yeah, it's been a pretty good night so far. Finally getting to do this. Check this one off the podcast bucket list.
There you go.
It's something that I've been looking forward to. And it's so weird. Like, so before we start these questions, I'll go ahead and throw another little thing out there. Talking about doing this podcast. So I first started talking about doing this with Duddy.
Yeah.
Um, and Maurice the Strong for those
Maurice.
uninitiated. Um, and he was like,
He
"Oh,
does
dude,
a pod too, right?
yeah. Oh, dude, his is great. Duddy's your
Yeah.
buddy.
Okay.
Little 5, 6, 7, 8 minute little things, life lessons and things that he's went through and different things to do different things. Man, it's really super cool.
Cool.
When I
I'll have to
first
check that.
when I first found it, dude, I just digested the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like from the first one up until the most recent, and I was just like, holy crap, this is super cool.
Yeah.
Uh, so, I always find it crazy, like when I started doing this and people ask me, they're like, how long have you had ADHD? And I'm like, bro, I've had it my entire life. It's not something that you just get. It's something you're born with. It's a genetic, I guess, odd wiring, so to speak, in our brains that forces us to try to um, get dopamine from any and all aspects of life. People have described me as kind of all over the board because I've got a shit ton of hobbies, and I love my music. My playlist is crazy. My things that my movies that I or my movie list, all that shit is just all over the place. Uh, and
Okay.
I fall in and out of like with things. And I have a bad habit of Tyler basically coined it. It was like the out of sight, out of mind thing. If if I don't like doing something, I will literally just turn it off. I tell people all the time, I'll do a thing until I'm not having fun anymore. A lot of people are like, "Oh, that makes sense," and I'm like, "No, like once my brain is not getting enjoyment out of it, I'll literally put it down and it will not exist for me."
Right. Do you have that with foods and stuff? Do you have that
Yes.
dopamine? kick off where you can, I'm
Oh
only eating
yes,
egg
dude.
rolls or whatever it is for this
Oh yeah,
week, and
we're
then
we're
you
on a
don't eat egg rolls for a year,
yeah, yeah.
afterwards
Uh,
when it's
we're,
over.
we're on an egg roll kick, ladies and gents. Your whole brain is like forget everything that's not egg rolls.
Exactly. Just obsessing over it, just
Yeah, oh,
constantly, constantly,
it's
constantly.
like a hyper fixation.
Yeah.
You just gotta squeeze all the enjoyment out of it. And then when egg rolls aren't enjoyable anymore, that's that drop. That instantaneous drop.
And yeah, you once you drop, you do not do anything with it. It's
Yeah, unless unless you want to, unless you're like, oh well, fuck, maybe I'll do that thing again.
yeah, you may,
Mine's
yeah, yeah. I haven't picked it
mine's
back up.
mine's painting. I absolutely
Yeah,
love painting. Acrylics. I was used to be really afraid of oil painting until a really amazing artist at Black River Technical College, Miss Baltz. She kind of introduced me to oil painting, and I was so scared of the medium itself because it takes so long for the oil to dry. And if
sure.
with ADHD, like if I'm not engaged with something, like that's what scared me. Like acrylic paints, and just a little kind of peek into the artistic world. Acrylic paints,
Yeah,
man, like 5 minutes, depending on how thick you paint them, the shit dries
right.
like really quick. So you can continue going without having to worry about losing interest. And so that being said, I was so scared about acrylics, and only because like I didn't want to fall in love with something and then like get tired of it before I could even kind of grasp the concept of it, because it takes so long. Like you have to wait almost 48 hours for some of the paint to dry.
Depending
That
on the
being
thickness you put it on.
Do what?
Depending on the thickness you put it on or something.
Yeah, yeah. And
Gotcha.
sometimes there's well, like I know it's going to sound weird, but there's even some paintings that were done back in the Renaissance era that underneath at the very closest layer to the canvas, some of that oil isn't even dry yet.
Oh wow.
And
Wow.
it's created like a skin over it, but
Sure.
to where it's not gonna like mess up or anything, but
The inside's still wet on
the
there.
inside's still sort of wet. So yeah, hey, what's up, Brad? Good seeing you,
Oh,
buddy.
old Brad Skimmerhorn.
But yeah, so that being said,
Boy, main event Bradley.
that's it. Uh, it's a good thing. Yeah, stunting boys. Uh, what's up? It is. But the so that being said, like if I like I haven't touched oil painting in quite some time, just because it takes so long to do it.
Right.
But I never wanted to lose that dopamine that I get from it. So, and I think it's
Yeah.
really just the artistic mind, because everybody has a creative side. I think us
Sure.
as
Yeah.
wrestlers and us with ADHD, it's a little bit different in that aspect, but still similar. Different but same.
Different but the same. I was comparing wrestling and like a rock and roll band or music band to
Yeah. Oh
toys.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
I was like, it's a different media, but we're basically the same crazy creatures, all
Right. Right.
ego driven, looking for attention,
Right.
trying to
Right.
make a buck at sometimes,
Well, and I think like boiled down even further than that, in for me at least, and I'm sure it's the same for you. I'm sure you'll agree. It's the
Yeah.
entertainment. It's the entertainment side of it. Like we
Oh,
we
absolutely.
we want to be entertaining. We're entertainers.
Yeah.
We're professional. We're athletes, but we're entertainers as well.
I consider us LARPers. It's
Right,
like
right, right.
dinner
Well,
theater
dude,
night things. Yeah.
I love that you said
So
that, because that's the way Brian, well, I mean, that's the way Gaston has been known to describe it.
yeah,
It's LARPing. I mean,
yeah.
for those that
Professional
know,
LARPing, but
professional LARPing, and for those that know, occasionally I'm a werewolf, and like,
what? Oh.
ooh, just go out there and howl.
Like, yeah, let's
Thanks,
go out there
thanks,
now.
thanks,
Like,
thanks, thanks, Herzog.
okay.
Good old gumboat.
Yeah. But
But yeah, that's another guy that I, found early in my career that, like it's crazy to be in locker rooms with him and have these kind of philosophical wrestling conversations with. Um, but yeah, it's a medium like any other. And,
sure,
and I feel like without we provide a well needed service. The
absolutely.
the suspension of disbelief. You know what I'm saying? That right there is it's a mighty tool, and if wielded correctly, it can be beneficial across the board,
Across the multiverse.
across the multiverses. But yeah, so that being said, all that stuff kind of kicking off with the tangents and whatnot.
Sure. Oh yeah,
Dopamine.
yeah.
Dopamine,
Dopamine.
we need it from every angle. The body naturally produces dopamine, and what for those that don't know, dopamine is the feel good chemical that our bodies produce.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing about people with ADHD is our bodies don't produce enough of it. So we have to like a wash rag, we have to wring dopamine out of every single thing that we do to where there's
Right.
nothing left, until there's nothing left. And then when there's nothing left, it's like, okay, well, it's done. Now off to the next thing.
Which is
Uh
why so many dope or ADHD people are big on energy drinks
oh, dude,
and
I
addicts, speed
I
addicts and stuff.
I
Yeah.
have one.
No.
I have one. I mean, it's sugar free, but I have one before I go to sleep. A lot of
Right.
people,
Yeah.
a lot of people
Go to
don't realize that like caffeine even works differently for us. Our our
right.
our bodies our bodies process caffeine differently. A normal
Does
person can
does an
drink.
energy drink even make you? Does it even give you energy?
No,
Me either.
it's
It's
like a it's
the
like a glass.
illusion of it
It's
though.
like a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
A cup of coffee. It's Hey, what's going on, Jamie? Good old Jamie
Jamie
J.
J, what's going on? Big show in Wynn, Arkansas last Saturday.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy big.
Heck yeah. Ready to do
uh,
another one.
Heck yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things where like our bodies are they it metabolizes caffeine differently for us. For us, it's more of a calm down. Now, I will say this: there's some energy drinks. I used to mainline those things. I would drink like five or six. I would drink like five or six in a row just to get
Golly.
just to get the jitters that somebody would
Right.
get from one or two drinks. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And but I don't do that anymore because you know health
Really.
health health effects and different things like that. Oh, that is
Right.
100% right. There was plenty of dopamine Saturday night,
Uh,
and look, I'm pretty sure, and I say this all the time because like I really like to put everybody over, dude. I'm sure there was a lot of shows that did it, but uh, dude, 100 Wrestling did it big in win.
yes, I did.
Hey, what's up, Xander? How you doing, bro?
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, caffeine works completely different. Like I know, like my wife, she doesn't have ADHD, so energy drinks hit her kind of weird.
Should be
I'm
bouncing off the wall and stuff.
right. It's just different for everybody. For the most part.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Actually, she may in fact have ADHD because like all of our kids, I'm pretty sure, have a touch of it. My son Logan, my oldest son, he's got severe ADHD, but I mean, like after several years of living with it and figuring out ways to cope with it and put on the normal face, I call it. I came up with a language. It's called normal for ADHD. Makes that way you don't like pop off with some crazy shit when you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stuff like that. Things I've picked up over the years. I've realized that
Sure.
it's a little different than normal, which is good. I like that. So
I'm getting to watch my kids almost will be 10 in May, and
oh my gosh.
he's pretty ADHD too, and poor kid. But he's trying to help him get through it and watching him. It
Really,
does.
it does in fact
It,
make it fun. It makes it fun and
does.
interesting.
I mean, ADHD can absolutely be a, superpower, especially when you hyper focus in on that one thing and try to make it perfect for
Right,
hours, days, months, or whatever, however long the hyper focus lasts.
right.
And
And
it's
it varies with
yeah,
different
sure,
activities. It
whatever the thing.
varies. Um,
But it can
so one question number one, let's just kind
okay.
of roll that
So
way.
yeah, we're moving into 'em.
How did ADHD affect you growing up? Or
Man,
or rather, I'm sorry. When were you diagnosed?
I still have not been properly diagnosed. I started the last time I saw my doctor on the beginning processes of looking into it and testing for it. Um, I was having quite a bit of depression and stuff with it at the time, and just executive
That's
dysfunction.
another thing, bro.
I couldn't do anything but get up and go to work and come home, and then I just sit here in this chair for hours on end. And I was like, I got to do something,
Right.
I got to do something. So I started looking into it, um, and I've switched jobs since there. And so whenever I get a chance to go back to the doctor, I'm gonna start pushing
Heck
more
yeah.
and see where we can get to and
Well, I
all
wish
that.
you all the luck in the world. I had a guest on several episodes back. He was a late diagnosed. So it's weird. Like somebody that was diagnosed early, like me. They actually, me and my son are very similar. They recognized it in kindergarten, and they wanted to start medication then, and my parents, like me and my wife, were like, let's not just yet.
Yeah,
And then after a while it was like, well, okay guys, this is doing more harm to him than it is good, for him not being on medication, so let's roll that way and see how it goes. So yeah, it's um so looking back, if ADHD is prevalent. Looking back, you know how was it for you? Well,
I
what I mean by that is like growing up and not knowing you have it,
yeah,
to fast forward to now that you're an adult and you're in the process of getting
right,
tested. What was looking back, hindsight's 2020. So you
sure.
know growing up, like how was it, for
I
you?
was uh, I was always sort of a weird kid. Just just operated different than the normal kid did, and you could see it in the looks and stuff. I was well liked or liked enough and stuff, but it was I just got weird looks because they didn't understand my fucking insane brain. I was always the weirdo kid, and I mean it is what it is. But um, I don't know. That just sort of continued on. I always knew I was a little off, and um, I could get good grades in school if I wanted to pay attention, if I was interested in anything. Otherwise, I just cruised through and sort of kept a C. Never did homework unless it was just something I absolutely had to type shit.
Right.
Um, that's how I failed English. I just didn't turn in a term paper in junior year, but thank goodness for summer school on that one.
Oh, right
But
on.
but uh, but yeah, I was just like I just couldn't get interested in anything in school. And really, the whole only thing in my really in my life until like kid came along and such is that kept my attention for more than a few hours, few days, few months. Pro wrestling. I watched some sports, other stuff, and TV shows and whatnot, but wrestling was always what interested me. I just watched every little movement from whenever I just dissected it, everything.
Right.
Who did what better and all this.
And I think that has a lot to do with our hyperfixation. uh,
Right.
with ADHD. And the thing about professional wrestling that I find is that, it's like there's 1,001 different flavors, and
Oh, yeah.
if one doesn't hit, there's always one right beside it or adjacent to it that may be the thing. So, I feel like this is something that helps, because every time you get in the ring, it's something new. It's not, I mean, the moves may be the same, the techniques may
Yeah.
all be the same, but there's so many different configurations
Sure.
that you can do, that it makes it new
Crowd's gonna
every
want
time.
something else too. Yeah.
Right, right.
No crowd's the same twice.
No, no, they're not. So that being said, you have so much more opportunity to get that dopamine that we crave.
Right.
We're like dopamine vampires, except for
Yeah.
vampires suck. I'm a dopamine werewolf.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
uh, but yeah,
Oh,
it's those little moments, and so
that's
yeah,
good. Yeah.
without knowing, you had tried, you said you watched different sports, and you said you did different things, and I love
Yeah.
that you said, you did really well at things that engaged you, and that you could
Right.
focus on things that
Right.
were enjoyable.
Yeah.
um and English, like you said, English wasn't really one of those things that hit, and
Especially not
unfortunately.
reading the term paper, writing
Right,
term paper.
right. So like, one my main thing, and I like to say this because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
I wish there was more teachers that had a more specialized approach to people with ADHD, because um I had a teacher growing up, that, or she wasn't a teacher, she was almost like a tutor, and she made things so interesting and so fun, when, when the teacher that was teaching out of the book, and didn't, I not so much didn't care what they were teaching, but, didn't care about engaging every student, just trying to check a box.
Right. I mean,
When I was sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's a little. I hope it's a little different nowadays, since from
I
when we
think
were
so. Right.
kids, it's a lot more accepted. And like, if you had ADHD or something, and you know, as I look back on it, as I, researched and stuff here in the last 10 years on ADHD, I realize I've been ADHD my whole life. But I mean, I was making fun of ADHD kids and stuff
Right,
like that,
right.
because
Because you
it's
did,
like it was the
yeah, it's
weird thing,
yeah.
stuff like that.
Oh, that kid's, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just
Right.
weird.
It's just weird. Yeah, he's
Uh
retard, or
yeah,
can't say the R word. Sorry, but
no,
I
and
mean,
that
that's what the kids would say. And
it's descriptive, because I mean,
yeah,
outside looking in, if you didn't know that you were diagnosed with it, you
right.
didn't think anything was wrong. And then
Yeah,
after, like with me, I was diagnosed at a young age, so
sure.
I always felt like the outcast. Like, what was wrong with me? Why can't I learn this? Everybody else is learning it, dude. I didn't learn my multiplication tables fully until like the ninth grade. It
Oh wow.
and that was because I wasn't engaged. I wasn't, I couldn't focus on multiplication tables, because gosh dang it, I had something in my backpack that I just needed to get. you know,
Right.
since I was dopamine starved. And that was
Yeah.
another thing, like being as old as we are, and I'm not gonna I think I already think I already put that on Front Street, and so that time
Yeah.
has passed. But
Well, I'm
back then,
43. I'm a couple years older than you. So
but even back then, fairly young, I was diagnosed in
yeah.
like 91, 92.
Right.
Um, so I was, back then, even the research for ADHD was, it was like,
I
oh,
mean,
well, that's just a mental disorder that
right.
we don't
At
know
that
much
point, it
about.
was. I mean, was it even ADHD at that point?
No,
Was it
no,
still
no,
just
you're right.
ADD?
At that point, the hyperactive little acronym that they added to it.
Hmm.
Now they say that people that were diagnosed with ADD weren't really diagnosed with ADD. They were actually overlooked, in the most part, for having ADHD, because back then, regular doctors prescribed, diagnosed ADHD, when it's a psychological evaluation that you have to really go through a psychologist to even be, to even be considered for having ADHD. So yeah, back then, in fact, I on my third year of college, I'm becoming a psychology major. On my third year of college, my one of my one of my professors said that, if somebody comes up to you and says they have ADD, uh, be fairly confident that they're lying, because they don't know that ADD isn't even considered in the DSM-5. It's not even considered a diagnosis anymore. And anybody that was diagnosed with ADD should probably get reevaluated, because they probably have attention deficit hyperactive disorder,
or some form of autism.
or some form of autism. And that's not a, honestly,
That's not a
that's
knock, because I
that's not
think
a
we all
knock,
have a little
because
bit of that on the
right,
spectrum.
because what they're finding out over these years, and after actually studying it and doing the research, ADHD and autism almost walk hand in hand,
Walk. Yeah,
right beside each other. So, um,
I'm looking into a lot of research. Is not even just calling it ADHD; they're calling it all DHT.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that way, because
I
we
actually
mixed in
follow
there.
I actually follow quite a few people on Instagram
Sure.
that it's they have it, so they to kind of take some of the sting and the stigma away from it. They joke about it, and that's kind of why I created this, and I named this podcast Wrestling with ADHD, because I wanted people to get to realize that it's not a bad thing. In fact,
No.
once I started doing this, I had a lot of people, be like, "Man, I had no idea you had ADHD." Maybe I would have been a little easier on you when you were, trying to learn how to wrestle. And I'm like, That's why I didn't tell anybody."
Yeah. There you
I
go.
kept it to myself, because I didn't want people to be like, "Oh, this guy, he just cannot learn." Uh, takes some people longer than others, and looking back, once people realize that I have ADHD, they're like, "Oh my gosh, everything that I've ever known about you makes perfect sense now.
Absolutely.
This is why you're the way that you are." So, having ADHD, how has it affected your wrestling career? I know you were talking about, in a lot of ways being a superpower
Sure.
instead
Yeah.
of a hindrance.
Like, whenever Cody and Dale and I were running hard for all those years together. I mean, and I sort of said this on David's pod the other day, or the Shoots and Giggles pod the other day, but it's like we would meet up Friday after work, maybe go to a show if there was a Friday show. Normally there was. Come home. Cody, we always had camera footage, so we would come home, we would watch the footage, and then we would probably watch the footage back again in like slow motion and just dissect every
Right.
little thing, and then watch Lucha, and then we probably watch the footage again, and then go Saturday and repeat the whole process. We just hang out at Cody's house. It would seem to be the central hub, and then
Yeah.
go to wrestling, come home, and just dissect everything on and um, so it really helped, hyper focus in on it, and just it help improve a lot of things that I do, especially psychology stuff. It
Right.
just helped me figure out what was getting reactions, and then I don't know. I think that was the biggest help on it, because it does act so much like a just figure stuff out, able to comprehend just details that other people like look at me like, why are you even thinking about that?
Right. Right.
Like,
And that right
turn
there,
your toe
that's
this way. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. When somebody says footwork, they think where they're placing their foot. No, it's
yeah,
how you turn your foot, and how you pivot your
right,
body, and how you do this, and all the little nuances that
yeah,
I like to say that ADHD helped and hurt me when I was learning, because, like, somebody would say, "All right, do this move and do it like this." Okay, like this. No, I want you to do it just like this. And then it's like, okay, I need to see it one more time, and then I need to do it. because I can't learn by you just telling me. I've got to do it.
Yeah.
Once I
Gotta see
get
it
it
and then you're
right,
gonna do it.
let me screw it up 100 times, and I promise you, on the 101st time or 101st time, I'll get it right.
There you go.
Uh, so yeah, I strongly feel that ADHD is a superpower, especially uh, in in wrestling.
Yeah.
I've done some research on it, and I've seen some research or read some research on it. Um, they say that people with ADHD do much better in single sports, not like team sports. Because like single sports, you're learning to do like the martial arts, professional wrestling, collegiate style wrestling, things like that. Tennis,
MMA
even
and stuff like that.
MMA.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of guys that we both watched growing up maybe had ADHD, and they just didn't even know it as well,
Right.
because again, the research just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So that being said, like, if you're playing football, you got to learn your position, but you also have to learn everybody else's, so you're not stepping on them. In professional wrestling, we all learn the same moves, but we have to learn them ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Right. How your
It's
body,
a
everybody's body moves a little different too,
right, right,
for the most part. So you have to figure out how to make your body do that move in that way,
right.
and it makes it. That's where your flavor is added
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the moves and
Little
stuff like that.
salt bay, some salt
Pizzazz.
base, some pizzazz in there. Uh,
That's
so
what
yeah, I mean
just
that's
watching Hell's
that's
Kitchen a minute ago. So.
heck yeah. I like watching those Salt Bay videos on YouTube. So like real quick, I just popped into my head. Like my wife
Go for it.
asks me all the time. Like she gets kind of upset sometimes when all I want to do is watch YouTube videos, but like literally, like I don't watch videos that are like hours long. And I told her, I'm like, they're easier to digest. If they're 5, 6, 8, even 20, maybe 30 minutes,
Yeah.
I can focus on those things, and I can get everything I need out of them. Vice watching, a movie or something else that takes my full attention to focus on it.
Right.
With a 5 to 10 minute YouTube video, I get an overabundance of dopamine, and then once it's over with, I can go to the next one. I can quickly digest.
I I get especially as I get older, and I guess I'm getting more accustomed to this short format video stuff that we're getting. But if if I get to an ad, all right, well, I'm not watching that. Let's just scroll on to the next thing, and I'll watch the first 2 minutes of the next video. And
Right, right.
uh,
I kind of hate, like, when YouTube first came out. Like, I was an adult, and I remember when YouTube didn't have any ads, and I hate the
yeah,
newest YouTube update where they automatically force you to watch two ads.
yeah,
And I'm like, look, I'm personally, I know that that my experience can't dictate what a huge multi-million-dollar corporation like YouTube does. But if I have to watch two 15-second ads, that's 30 seconds that I have to
yeah,
try to remain focused on the thing that I want to watch. Or when it starts to play, I'm like, all right, I'm done.
right. Well,
Thanks.
see,
That
that's
could have been very entertaining.
yeah. If I'm actually trying to watch a video, it's that kills it almost every time. Now I'll turn
Oh, dude, I
YouTube
almost,
on my
sorry.
I'll turn it on my TV here, and with the like this is how I go to sleep a lot of times, just because I can just concentrate on that, and I don't have to concentrate on everything else. I can let my brain
Right,
sleep.
right. Oh,
So
dude,
if I can focus on one thing, like I got to do this task. Let's turn on random YouTube,
yeah,
and
yeah.
let's just that'd be background noise, so I don't my brain doesn't go
Right,
everywhere
right.
else.
So that way you can focus while getting that trickle down effect of the dopamine from the other thing. It's a
Exactly.
trick. It's a trick. Which
It's
is
a
so
trick.
great. Which
So
just listen. Hey, when I told you before that each one of these questions are going to lead into the next one,
yeah,
I don't even know how or really when I developed these questions.
yeah.
But the next question are, what are some tricks that you've learned to control it?
Well,
uh, what are some?
that is
Oh, there's my fucking pack of wolves.
hot
Sorry.
dogs. Ooh, it's all good.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, that's that's a big one for sure. That's just and another one that I had to do. Like whenever I get home, if I really want to get something done, I cannot sit down. I can't take my shoes off. And I just go and
So
you know
so
I'm
you so you've developed the trick of keep your shoes on
just
because you're still at work.
keep. I'm still at work. I got to
Right.
it's
You gotta you
if
these
it's
are the
work
things that,
mode, I can work. But
right.
whenever it's home mode, it's time to just
Right,
power down.
right. To power down. I
Yeah,
love that. I love that idea because you get home, you take your shoes off, you're like, oh gosh, I can relax now. I'm no
yeah,
longer at work because at work
right.
for the most part you got to keep your shoes on. So I love that. I
Yeah,
may I may adopt that.
that's, please steal it. I stole it from my mother. She may have ADHD too because they're very
Well,
similar.
they say that originally they thought that the ADHD was gene was passed down from the father, but it's actually passed down from the mother.
Okay,
So
well,
I
good to know.
misspoke earlier when I said that my wife didn't have ADHD because I think what I meant by that was she was never really diagnosed with it. But
Sure.
if you pay attention to her, she's got a lot of the signs and symptoms. So
Well, that's
um,
probably why y'all are connected. Honestly,
right,
just
right.
good.
Without even realizing it, we're kind of like peas of the same pod, so to speak.
Right. I mean, y'all been together forever at this point.
Yeah,
Been with
yeah.
my girl for just over a year now, and I mean, we're both out that way and ADHD pretty bad, and like we never understood it until later in life, either one of us, and it's just like, oh well, we understand what each other went through, because
Mm.
we went through it too. We She tries to explain something to me or me to her, and it's like, yeah, yeah, that's what we went through too, and explain it to them, and it's
Do you do this weird thing where you go 10 miles out of your way to tell a story? Uh,
oh, absolutely,
because
golly,
and you're so detailed because you want people to be in the same headspace you were in
absolutely,
when you were living the story that you're telling, because without that context, I feel like without the context you cannot understand.
can't you can't truly understand what's going on without all the backstory and on the line, even
Right.
if it's a quick version.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
dude, you've been around me several years now. There is no quick version of anything with me.
no, no, there's not. Even
I
if you try to make it to me either, I'm going to tell you 14 different side stories, and
right.
half the time I'm going to forget the original story, and I'm
Right.
just going to
Where
go
was
off
I
on the
going?
side tangent.
Where was I going with that? Oh
It
well,
is.
you'll get it the next time maybe.
I'm pretty sure I did that about 4 times on the Shoots and Giggles pod. It's
Right,
not been
right.
as bad here tonight, but
I've
yeah,
been talking to David, and David's kind of told me, he's like, man, I always felt like there was something there, but I never really knew, or I never even paid attention to it. I just thought that was just me and how I acted.
yeah,
He a lot of people, because of the wrestling with ADHD, they're kind of rethinking, like, shit, maybe I've got some form of that. And my whole thing is like, I talk to guys that are in late stages of being diagnosed, and I'm like,
sure,
it's like you guys are unicorns to me. Like, sometimes I wish that I didn't know, and
yeah,
a lot of the times I'm glad that I did, because I knew that there was something different about me. I knew that I learned different. But
yeah,
I always, in my head, and looking at that, that man in the mirror moment, it was always, what's wrong with you? You're just
yeah,
like everybody else. Why can't you learn this thing that everybody else seems to just pick up? Why are you so distracted? What is so important over there that you can't, you know, laser focus in here, and kind of get it in your brain that this is the thing that you're learning now, and this is the thing that you have to learn now. It took me several years to learn, the tricks of the trade, so to speak, um, without medication. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So like I was on Ritalin for quite a while, and I started out on the lowest dose, and then I think I went up to like one of the highest doses that they were comfortable giving with Ritalin, because even at that time in the early '90s, Ritalin was still sort of a kind of a experimental. They'd had several years to prescribe
Sure.
it to people, but it was still kind of one of those things like, hey, check in every week and make sure that you're not having crazy thoughts, or you're doing anything crazy. Make sure you're still healthy and whatnot. But
Yeah.
like the
I mean,
whole
that's basically speed. So
yeah, yeah. So the whole ADHD for normal is something I kind of like a sign language that I created, to where if I'm in a situation where I don't need to, you know, highway to, oh look, there's a squirrel, kind of situation, I can
yeah.
have normal conversations with people without them knowing that I have ADHD, and I'm really inside my head. I'm doing cartwheels and freaking tapping along to the beat of my heart. You know,
Trying
I
to
can.
keep paying
it's
attention to what they're
it's yeah,
saying. Keep.
it's masking because like, and I don't,
Oh, absolutely.
anybody that's ever talked to me, and if people that have had conversations with Phil are think back, like, after the first couple of seconds, if I haven't gleaned the thing that you want me to glean, I may not glean it.
Yeah.
I may actually have to ask a couple of times, what did you say?
Mhm.
I may I may have to be like, okay, so what's the point?
Yeah.
And if it seems like I'm being short or I'm trying to rush you along, it's not that. I thoroughly want to engage in the conversation, and I want to get the point. But if I'm starting to lose interest, I'm got my hands in my pockets and I may be tapping my leg because I'm like, oh,
Twiddling
I'm
my fingers.
I
So,
twiddling my fingers. I'm losing it. I don't want to, but I'm losing it. I got to figure out something to catch the dopamine from this.
man, I've got a big one on that one, especially if I just stand by somebody. I pace a lot. I can't. If we're in a conversation, I'll either rock or I'll just make full little circles, or especially if we're outside or something, I'll
Right,
I'll just
right.
do little stupid stuff. But
Wide open
but
spaces.
yeah, or little rocks or something. Just interact with the environment. Stand on picnic tables, whatever it is.
Right, right. And somebody that doesn't, I keep saying, the uninitiated, but somebody who doesn't know may think that you're, God, this guy doesn't want to listen to me, or this guy's being, really super weird right now. Like, I'm just trying to tell him that, I went to get a fucking ham sandwich and they gave me a turkey sandwich. uh why doesn't he care? It's not that we don't care, it's just that we're slowly
it's
losing the
well,
focus.
and a lot of times I can already tell like what you're gonna say more or less.
Oh gosh,
So it's like I'm just waiting for you to say it, and then we can
uh,
continue the
yeah, yeah.
conversation.
I,
It's
I
like
don't
I
want to.
know this is coming.
I don't want to be an
I'm gonna let
ass.
you say
I don't want to be an ass and say that finish the
it.
sentence for you, but I already know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
know where this is going, and this is where we need to be.
right, right. The faster we
Like
get there, the faster we can carry on. Um,
this is
so yeah,
this is a topic or a situation we need to take care of. We need to speed it up so I don't
yeah,
zone
yeah, 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 yeah.
out.
So give me the bullet points, because like if it's something that we need to fix right now, let's not waste any precious time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
When
and,
they
and if
finally
it's
get to
just a
that, it's
and if
normally
it's just a throwaway conversation, then
yeah.
I know it
Make a
sounds
funny remark and go on. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
I know it sounds kind of assholish, but it's really it's not. It's not how we it's not us being assholes. It's not people with ADHD being assholes. It's
No.
just us. It's how our brains work.
It's us doing what we think is normal
Right, right.
as much as anything. Trying to be normal, but trying to be that person, and we're
Yeah,
not. I mean, it is a
right.
superpower. We need to treat it more so, but
Well,
all of us,
it's a mask, the mask of
that's what I
normalcy,
see
so
it.
to speak. We keep ourselves focused to the extent that we can, and
Yeah.
um, speaking of that, positives and
Uh,
negatives of wrestling with ADHD. It's in the contract clause. I have to put the gimmick over at least 30 times or so.
sure.
Sorry.
Positives and negatives. I
Yeah,
mean,
what are some of the positives that you've seen and some of the negatives? I know we've talked about some of the superpowers, but what are some of the, and I think the negatives are kind of stuff that we've mentioned in passing, and we're not really focusing on them. And I don't really like focusing on the negative, but personally, to get into your head, what are some things that are kind of drawbacks and a few positives?
well, the positives I think is just general creativity, able to come up with a solution because like our brain goes so quick and we go through so many different options. You know, it's like Doctor Strange just going
Oh
through
yeah, I
all
was
the options,
holy shit, I was just thinking that. Like
and
I've
it's
seen
like,
I've seen all of them. I've seen all
yeah,
of
it's
them, and
like,
I know which one.
oh, and as soon as it is, it's like, okay, we're going here. This is it. You know,
Right, right,
um, and but that's some of the creative, or some of the positive, or definitely a positive on it. Just being able to dissect the little things and figuring out how you want to work. Just watching that video, all that stuff, I consider a positive. But negatives, I mean, I do want to talk about them just for a bit, but because
right, right.
I have some
Well, don't
executive dysfunction on here, pretty
right.
bad on there, and
Don't
that
get me
really
wrong.
gets me.
Don't get me wrong,
But
and people watching, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. When I
yeah,
say
oh yeah,
I don't wanna focus on the negative. I mean, you
no,
look. I say this constantly, and people give me a funny look. I love every part of the wrestling business, including the shitty parts, and you have to because there are some. You know what I'm saying? And
mm-hmm.
to love the good, you gotta take the bad. So
Absolutely true.
I don't love going through those, but I recognize that they're there, and you know, I guess I sort of love that they're there because if they weren't there, then the good probably wouldn't be there.
That's true. You got to have bad for good for sure to make
Right, right.
everything, to really
So
appreciate those good parts.
right, right, right. And I think that goes with everything, life in general. It's
Sure.
a, you have shitty parts of life and you have really good
Yeah.
parts of life, and if you're lucky, the good parts of life outweigh the bad, and that's
Or at least the priority of your life.
right, right,
You
right. Yeah,
focus more on those
don't
positives
focus.
instead of
Yeah,
the
you
negative.
focus more on the positives. But yeah, I'm sorry I
Oh,
cut you
it's
off.
absolutely fine. You're adding in here. We're gonna, but like executive dysfunction's been a big part of my deal, especially in the last 5 or 6 years since I lost a finger. I think depression helped kick some of this in on levels, but uh, God, see now I lost where I was going for a second there. Ticks, um, but yeah, like I know I need to go do, I need to work on making gimmicks or working this point or there's just days that I walk into a wrestling locker room and I don't really even want to talk to anybody, and that's really hard on me. So, those days.
Yeah,
Most of the time, it's heck yeah. Oh man, this is gonna be fun, and let's do this. But there's just some days it's like, why am I even here? What is this doing? I'm gonna have to go drive an hour, 4 hours, whatever it is, and there and back, and sit there around people that just today I need to be sitting in my bedroom doing nothing,
right, right.
and
So
unfortunately that's just the thing. It's not really a bad thing about
no,
wrestling
no.
with it,
So
but
to add to
anyways,
that, I just want to add a little quick little blurb at the end of that part. It's I wouldn't say it's 100% depression, but
no,
it's a form. You know what I'm saying? It's a
I'm just saying it's sort of depression fueled and
right,
made
right.
some of
No,
the
I
executive
100%
dysfunction and stuff
agree.
like go for that.
Um, I
What else you got there?
no, like you were saying with the whole like, hey, I got to make these gimmicks or I got to do this thing. Uh, you probably have people messaging you all the time, like, "Hey, can you watch my match?" Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I'll watch it. And
sure.
then 3, 4 days go by, you still haven't watched the match. Then you get that message like, "Hey, bro, you get a chance to watch my match?" See, I really wanted to, but there's this thing
Yeah,
called I didn't want to.
I didn't want to. It was not giving me dopamine,
It was
unfortunately.
not giving me the thing that I needed. But no, and you know the same thing goes to like, and that goes with like everyday normal life. You know, there's things that we have to do that, uh, man, they just don't give us the thing that we need. Uh,
Right.
for lack of a better word, dopamine. They don't give us the joy
Yeah.
chemical, so it's like,
Right.
well, I'll just put that off. And then, you know, a
Yeah.
couple of days will go by and you're like, shit, I really need to get that thing done.
Right.
I'm a huge procrastinator. I do some of my best work very last minute.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, absolutely.
that being a negative, I wish that I was the opposite.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I'm gonna do in the short time it's gonna take me to do it is gonna give
Right.
me it's gonna give me the dopamine, but I just don't have it in the tank right now. You know what I'm saying? At
And
this at this
and then
point, at
I
this
get a
moment.
lot of the dread, like just dreading, like, oh man, I need to do this. God, just
Oh yeah,
worry about it, but not able to physically get up and go
it's a
do
it's a
this little
vicious
20-minute task.
it's a vicious cycle, bro. And I would consider that one of the major negatives because
Absolutely.
even as far along the lines of like, saying that I have a bunch of hobbies. I
Yeah.
love a lot of doing a lot of different things. The thing that I worry about and the thing that scares me the most about a hobby or something that I enjoy doing is what happens when I don't enjoy that thing anymore. Then I have to find
Right.
another thing. I have to find another thing that gives me the same or more uh, joy. And then, like in that lull of finding a new thing, it's almost like I'm super depressed and I don't want to do anything.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Definitely a negative, but um, I feel like there's a lot more positives because then once you get that thing done
Absolutely.
that you're dreading, like you said, that 20-minute task that in the long run is going to help out and is going to be a huge part of a thing that you're doing. Um,
Yeah.
Once you get that done, you can go on to the next thing. But like you said, it's that almost dread of, man, now that's over with. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. Yeah. I see a lot of people how to call it executive dysfunction, just that overall dread. Like, you could wait all week to say do this particular load of laundry or wash your gear or something like that, and it's like, I know I need to do this. Let's go do it right now. I got time. I'm busy the rest of the week. I can't do this. I got this, 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 this. This is the only day I got to do it, and for whatever reason, you just won't get up off the couch or chair or whatever and
Right.
go watch your gear, whatever the
Oh yeah,
situation is.
just something simple, and it's just I like that executive dysfunction. Is that what you said?
Exec- Executive dysfunction is the
Right,
term I've
right.
been seeing a lot of.
And the thing about that is, I would call it that as well because I mean it is a thing that that you have to do, and that once you
Yeah.
do it, it's done, and then you don't have to worry about it until the next time. But it's
Right.
it's just so it's weird. It's a weird situation.
It is a weird situation. I mean, we're what, definitely not neurotypical people with
No,
ADHD.
no. It's just I call them normals, but e- somebody that doesn't have ADHD would see a task and they'd be like, "Hey, that has to get done. I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
everything else that I'm doing and I'm gonna
Do it.
go do it." And then I'm
Yeah.
going to come back to this thing. But like what I feel is, let's say I'm okay, I like to paint. Let's say I'm painting something, but there's a thing that I need to do. I pause the painting to go handle the thing that I need to do. When I come back, am I still going to get the same joy out of doing this painting that I was getting while I was doing it?
Right.
What if I
Yeah.
go back? What if I go back to it and I absolutely just I'm just like, oh, this is not a thing that I want to do anymore.
I
Then I got to
think if
find,
I was doing, I think if I was doing a painting or like you're
I
using the
say
metaphor of
painting, but
painting, but
yeah, but
yeah,
anything.
I deal with binging a TV show a lot of
Right, right,
times.
right.
Like I think I'm gonna try to watch Supernatural again through. So Like I know over the next couple weeks, I'm gonna want to get home, finish my little task at home, and that's gonna drive me, just
Right,
to watch
right.
an episode or two before I have to go to bed. And I'll just be like, oh yeah, I got to watch this and remembering things and all that good stuff. But that will be my focal point and stuff, and it all goes back to looking for that dopamine, chasing that fucking high out there, and
Yeah.
just trying to find something that entertains us. And it's really
I
hard for
I
ADHD people over a long term.
right, right. I try to I've explained it to I explained the feeling of being a wrestler as being an addict to a certain
Yeah,
extent. The feeling of the adrenaline, the feeling of the music, the lights, the fans' energy, the being in the ring, every little bump. I crave that. And
right.
when it's not there, I've been injured and been on the shelf before, or
Sure.
had to take some time off for different things, and that feeling of not having that, to me, is the closest thing that I could think of to just fiending for something.
Yeah, I totally
And
agree with that.
to a certain extent, you're viewing the world and everything else with blinders on, because you're looking for that next pop, that next adrenaline rush.
Yeah,
And it's just, you got to have it.
right. That next adventure.
Yeah, the next
Uh,
adventure. Whether it be,
even when I
for us, it's wrestling. For somebody else, it could literally
sure
be, hiking, or mountain climbing, or
painting
going
it
and
goes
painting,
into that.
or anything really. It's
Anything,
just
yeah.
right. You can overindulge yourself with anything, whether it be good or bad. But
Hmm.
it's just, it took me. It was a hard lesson to learn,
Sure.
to get that same feeling from other things,
Yeah.
because of the hyperfixation and the hyperfocus. And sorry, my phone did a weird thing.
Oop,
Um,
squirrel.
yeah. So with that being said, in the next couple of weeks and months, and within the
Yeah.
next year, you're gonna have your answers, because you're gonna search them out. Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
what would
Absolutely.
you what would you and this is the last question, by the way.
Go
Um,
ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
and then we can kind of just chill for a little bit or whatever. We've been going for an hour and 22 minutes, so it's went fairly
Yeah.
quick with our side
Our
side quests
tangents.
and
Yeah.
tangents.
Absolutely.
So what's
I like the side quest though. I'm stealing
uh,
that one.
I'll do it. I picked it up from this show that we're watching called From on
Okay.
Amazon. It's AMC, right? Anyways, it's a pretty good show. I dig it. It's like a horror type show. Um,
Okay.
so what is something that uh, you would say to a younger you? Let's say tomorrow you get your diagnosis, and everything kind of makes sense a little bit. How you kind of gravitated through life, to get to where you're at right now. What's one thing that you would tell younger Phil, um, at any age? Really, it could be last year you,
Sure.
but just a younger
Uh,
younger version of yourself.
I mean, we've talked this whole time about how ADHD is a superpower, right?
Hmm.
And I'm looking to get diagnosed here just to make it make sense in my brain. I don't know that I may try the medication, but I'm not really sure that I want to. I'm a
And
little leery.
that being said, not to step on you, I've talked to guys that
Yeah,
want to get on the medication because they want to get that focus, that they didn't have before, or that they don't
sure,
perceive that they have. And then I've talked to other guys that are like, well, like me, like I'm an adult, and I feel like I feel like I've learned some pretty good ways to cope with it, and
Yeah.
not every one of them may be like the best option, but for me at least, it works. And so yeah, that being said, like, I definitely don't judge when it
Yeah.
comes to trying it or not trying it, because you never know
No, I'm not either.
until you
But
until you.
I'm just not a fan of pills,
Oh,
pharmaceuticals,
same
and
here,
a
same here. By
lot
the
of
way,
stuff. That's my leeriness mainly. But then at times I do crave to see if there is something that could help me feel like a normal, like you said, just
right,
a
right, and I
um.
and I don't say it. I don't say that
That's
as
that
a
masking thing though.
right. I don't say that as what's that word? I don't say that as a pejorative, or
Yeah,
I'm not knocking the normies. I actually like them, for the
sure.
most part. But I
Mhm.
but I can tell there's a difference between us.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But
But
no, like, I agree.
I would tell my younger self just to try to focus more on the superhero aspects of it and not so much why am I different than everybody around me.
Right,
Uh,
perfect.
uh, I'm everybody. It seems to be putting me over here recently, and I'm just like, what are y'all talking about? I don't get it. Y'all shut up, quit.
Yeah,
Look how
quit
great you are. I'm gonna redirect this over here to
it.
you, but
Hey,
but
look at this. Hey, look, this is a mirror. Look at yourself.
yeah. Hey, look, squirrel. And sometimes it works. But uh, seeing I lost where I was going. Damn, I'm sorry.
Focus on it being a superpower, not so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
not so
Just
much as a negative.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Figure out the things that you can do really well, because I mean, every ADHD person has things that they can and can't do. Like,
Right,
but work on the things that you can and the things that you do better than everybody else. That's where we should all try to get to, obviously. But
right, right,
um, I think Paul Heyman's motto in ECW was accentuate the positives, hide the negatives, and definitely try to hide or accentuate my positives. And
right,
maybe
right,
be a little better. I would have tried a little more on trying to get out of my comfort zones in the wrestling so much. I traveled
right.
around a lot, but I had a lot more opportunities than I actually took up on, and
I've actually heard a few of those.
so
Could have been a bit different Big Nasty Phil right now.
it could have, it really could
Could
have.
have could have could have probably even not have been a Big Nasty. Could have been something completely different. But
Yeah,
that's not a bad thing, honestly.
no, not necessarily.
It's I love that message. And if there's any kids that are watching or maybe watching that have something that they feel like they're different, just realize that you're not. We're all we all have been through this awkward phase
Sure,
of not feeling like we're good enough, or not learning the same way that somebody else does. I would most definitely accentuate the superpowers of it.
yeah. And everybody needs to know this too, but and you use the word normals and stuff like that, and it's I know it's just sort of a joke type thing, but normal is such a relative term. So
Right,
like what's
right,
normal for Joe Smo on the street or you or me is going to be a completely different ball game in a lot of situations. Of course everybody tries to be part of the cool group or whatever, act normal, but it what is normal really? I mean, cuz
right, right. There's
you
so
can't.
many. I love I think it was in a book, or some philosopher or something somewhere,
Yeah.
said it. What's normal to the fly or what's normal to the spider is madness to the
Mm,
fly, or some form of that.
right. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I 100% agree. Normal is subjective, and I do kind of use normal as a joke. But I mean,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that's that's for me. I recognize that
Sure.
somebody with ADHD and somebody without ADHD, they're
Mhm.
they're two different pineapples. So,
The two different
um,
pineapples. And and
they probably still taste the same, but one's got a little more spiky things on the outside, and
there you go.
I don't
I
know.
mean, I've been hearing the term instead of normals, I guess, and they're trying to make PC terms for everything. But neurotypical is what the average normal person is. But
Well, and
uh,
that's really just a fancy
just a
way to
term,
say that. Yeah, that's just a fancy way to say that there's nothing wrong with you. And
basically.
by that I mean that you have no you're just typical. And
You're
even
just typical, yeah,
and even
yeah,
being typical is
mentally,
not even being typical is not saying that you're a carbon copy of the next person.
no,
Every normal person has their own. There it is again. Every normal person
a normal
has
person.
their neurodivergent person has their own or neurotypical. That's the one.
Yeah,
Every neuro
Typ- neuro, typical.
neurotypical. Every neurotypical person has their divergence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, in this
um,
day and age, I mean, I
typical is
think
just the term
neurotypical is
for.
it's either
Sorry, go
somebody
ahead.
that doesn't. I think neurotypical in this day doesn't really exist except in some of these books. I mean, I don't think there's really a normal person.
Right,
I
right.
think everybody's
I
got
feel like there's I feel like
the
that's just a way
spectrum is
to
so broad.
classify.
Yeah. I mean, but I think everybody is on the spectrum somewhere, the autism spectrum somewhere, and I think we need to stop hiding from that so much as well, and
Right,
just
right.
try to embrace
Well,
and find ourselves on that end.
and I think the urge to fit in sometimes affects people's mental focus to a certain extent. They tend to for that for the battle of struggling to fit into a category. I feel like that
Yeah, certain click or anything. Yeah,
yeah, it tends to affect people to a point to where they lose themselves. So
right. Trying to keep up with the Joneses type thing.
right, right. The main thing that I'm focused on is just being a good human being. You know what I'm saying? Because
Absolutely.
I don't want to be a bad one.
No,
There's
no, I
enough
don't
of that
either.
out there.
It really is. And everybody needs to calm the hell down. Just be good.
Right,
Enjoy,
right. Just
enjoy your, join the people around you. Enjoy the people around you. You know,
absolutely, absolutely. Um,
don't. Everybody's making such a get such an up in arms about the differences between me, you, them, whoever, and
right, right. And they forget all the ways we're similar.
yeah. I mean, and that's a broader subject that we can get into,
Oh
but
yeah,
it
absolutely. This is
but
just
it
us. This is just us scratching the surface on that conversation. That's a whole
but
that's a whole other podcast, guys and
but
girls.
that gets back to like us talking about like me dropping the R bomb and stuff like that, just being made fun of because we were the weird kids growing up.
Right, right.
Be nice to your fellow man because you're weird too. Like
Yeah, yeah.
we all have something
We're
going
all
on,
weird. We're all weird.
so let's just try to be nicer to each other and help the person that's struggling that moment instead of making fun of them and you know
Right, right.
just
Because it could be, who knows that tomorrow it could be you that's struggling and needs that hand
it
up.
needs that support. Exactly,
Right.
exactly. Just be kind to people
Absolutely.
whenever you can. You know.
So one of the comments that just came in a few minutes ago was, it's more of a wrestling converse or a wrestling question.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool when anybody gets signed to the WWE, especially guys that have worked their literal asses off
yeah,
around the world. Um, that being said, good for him. I wish him the best. You know what I'm saying? That's legit, and that's just me being a good human being. Um,
yeah, absolutely.
I want everybody to succeed, and there's enough room at the table for all of us to eat. So,
And there's more jobs and more money in pro wrestling nowadays
oh yeah,
than ever
it's
before.
so crazy. There was a bit of a lull, there was a bit of a lull,
Yeah,
like back you hear wrestling's heyday, to where it is, just slowly starting to make its way back around, and
right.
it's almost like a fashion trend, like It used to be the thing to be able to wrestle, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and
Sure.
make a living with professional wrestling. And then
Yeah.
there was a little lull where, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I got to get a real job. And then,
Right.
it's slowly starting to turn itself around. It's like the hokey pokey.
Yeah. I mean, there are several independent wrestlers. I mean, not just the Matt Cordonas and stuff like that that can actually make a living and a fairly comfortable living just doing indie bookings.
Right, right. And
Uh,
I luckily I had an opportunity to hit a seminar several years back, and the guy that was doing the seminar, he kind of asked everybody what their definition of making it in wrestling meant. And you had a lot of younger guys there that was like, oh, it's that contract, it's this and that, it's that and the other. And he kind of broke it down and was like, hey, how much do you pay? What's your monthly car payment? Oh, it's this. Okay, so at that, you have to wrestle this many shows, making this much money, selling this much merchandise, and then boom, your car payment is paid for that month. If you've got a regular job, that money goes into a savings account, or you blow it on whatever you want to.
yeah,
And it really made me change my whole outlook on making it in wrestling. To
yeah,
me, making it in wrestling is making wrestling work for you. Because don't get me wrong, I'm from the school of wrestling where the wrestling business doesn't owe us anything, and we owe wrestling everything. But if you can make it work for you, and you can pay at least half of your utilities with wrestling, to me that's
yeah,
making it.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And if
Yeah, I
you luck
was.
and if you luck out and you can make wrestling pay for all of your monthly expenses, holy crap.
Yeah, let's
You're
do
9 to
wrestling full
you're
time.
yeah, either that or you do wrestling full time and that pays the bills, and you do a 9 to 5 job to have extra money to spend on whatever you
Right.
want.
Well, nowadays you don't. I mean, if you're able to make even just a few $100s a week, do two, three, four wrestling shows and
Oh yeah,
not
dude.
blow it, having to travel, all the way across the country and back. I mean, you can do. There's so many other side hustles you can do. I mean,
Oh yeah, you don't even have to get a
content
legit,
creators.
a
Yeah.
legit 9 to 5 job. You can supplement that income in so many different ways. And
Right.
I hate the whole COVID situation from 2020, but it
Yeah.
taught it taught us that you can work from home.
Yeah.
You can remotely do everything that you need to do, and 90% of the time that's going to pay you more than actually going into a
Yeah.
place and
Well, I mean,
busting your
even the social
knuckles. Or
media content and
oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
OnlyFans is a thing now. I wasn't trying to get into that. Although Cena's OnlyFans right now, the stuff I'm seeing on that, or that's being posted about that is hilarious.
uh yeah, well, and even then, it's I don't think a lot of his stuff is R,
It's not
or
going to be rated.
yeah,
No,
it's not
he's
going to
he's
be rated.
playing.
It's
It's a real like tea bag. He's teabagging
right,
something.
right. Right.
I
So
mean,
so
he's
that being
doing jokes of it all.
well, I mean, dude, like once he started doing movies, and like his comedic timing is freaking crazy. Like
Hilarious.
he's just so funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, little things
Peacemaker is
like
one of my
that.
favorite shows.
Yes.
No, it's a good
Uh,
show. For real.
but yeah, that was a completely different tangent than what we were talking about. But again,
What
it's
were
one
we
of those.
talking
It's one of those.
about?
It's one of those things where, like, that's what the format of this show is. It's being able to talk about a wide range of things, and with a healthy splash of ADHD, and how we focus, and how we
your,
cope with that stuff.
your phone is blowing up over there,
Dude,
sir.
I kind of was excited that Facebook went down today, dude. It was the most quiet my phone's been in ages.
I was only pissed off about it because I had to reset my password because I
Oh
had
my
no clue what
gosh.
my
Oh
Facebook
my gosh,
password.
dude. I think
It's
I think like
enormous.
in the first 5 minutes, I think I reset my password like 3 times.
Oh golly.
Because I literally thought it was like I tried to update my app. I tried doing all the things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Finally, I was just like, you know what? I'm not even gonna mess with it. And then I like it was weird for me. Like once everything came back up, like I tried to put in my new password, and
Yeah.
it was my old password. Like it didn't even work.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was
That's
like,
weird.
that's weird.
Huh. It took me. I mean, like, luckily I was at work, so I didn't
Yeah,
really have.
yeah,
I had like two chances to check it, and it was whenever or once was whenever it happened, went down, and then once afterwards, I had to fight with it for 5 minutes to get it working
right.
right.
So we were before we started, we were talking about the whole Facebook apocalypse and the whole AT&T
Yeah.
apocalypse. At work, where I work at a dealership, and where I work,
Yeah.
our network is AT&T. So like, dude, it was miserable. Like for that, because I mean, I sell parts, and like I got to use the internet to do those things to communicate with General Motors, and when I couldn't do that, like my job was literally like put on hold. My boss almost was like, "Hey, if it doesn't pop back up in the next like 30 minutes, I'm gonna have to send you home because we literally can't even do our job without the internet." So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
Do
so
you
I was
have
like,
AT&T phones and stuff too, so you can
yeah,
use your
yeah.
own
So
phone sometimes?
I got AT&T my plan as well. So like we were all
Right.
down,
Yeah.
and that was
Our
crazy. So
It's been a crazy couple of weeks with those two little things. However,
right,
whatever
right.
happened on both of them.
And that's so weird that like, guys like us, we grew up without all that stuff, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
we have to use those things for our job as a tool. So, it can affect a lot of things. So,
It really can. Yeah, we put a lot of reliance
oh
in that
yeah,
technology and stuff.
unfortunately, uh
Fortunately.
I had the conversation with my kids, like I was saying, like guys, growing up, we didn't have the internet, and if we wanted to call somebody, it was a landline. So, we're equipped to operate without it, but you have to understand that it is a tool. It's not a way of life.
Yeah. Try to tell that my son all the time. He's going through that straight into the phone just all the time, and I'm like,
Right. The
can't even
screens.
be distracted from it.
Right.
Like
Like
no.
I try to, like I was talking about the whole, like the YouTube with the tiny bits of I can
Yeah.
digest the tiny
Videos and stuff.
videos and
Short
stuff.
form.
Like I show the kids like these videos of like people like falling into manhole covers because they got their head in their phone and stuff, and or manholes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like, guys, that's a legit thing. Like, don't get run over because you can't like pull your head up out of your phone.
Right. Yeah. Pay
Uh,
attention to your surroundings. There's
and
cool
and I'm
stuff out there too.
there's way cooler things out there than on your phone. And I'm old and get off my lawn and whatnot.
Shaking your fist at clouds and
Shake,
stuff.
yeah,
Back in my
uh,
day.
right.
We are at that age though, where that's all happening. So.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. Like every day, I find some new thing that I'm like shaking my fist at, and I'm like, God, put that fist away, old man.
Yep, me too. It's mostly working with
But
younger kids if
oh
if
yeah, yeah, that's
any job. Y'all kids,
90% of the people I work with are like at least 20 years younger than me, and I'm like, oh, guys, can you just shut up and go over there?
yeah, you do this job and leave me alone, please.
Yeah, I'll handle all this stuff. You just go as far over there as you can go with still being
Right.
on the property.
I mean,
Nah,
that's honestly a lot of times that's me. I will be like, I'm gonna go. Like we were at my job now. There was a thing where we had to have a couple people be outside, and I was like, no, that's where I'm going. And y'all can send me out there.
I'm gonna take that
I
job. You guys,
That's mine. I get to be outside and away from all these people. All right, send me this one because he's all right, and then we'll be
right,
good.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And
Uh,
that's what it was for like 2 weeks. I mean, like we were had troubles out there with tools we had and stuff, but
right.
it was. I'd rather be out there and out in the weather than inside around all the people, just making my day miserable, just with done. So, of course, that's a negative thing to say. I shouldn't say.
Well, again, this is a peek into our brains, man.
That's true.
It's a way for people to get to learn us to learn of us, or to
Certainly.
feel like they know us. That's the word.
No, it's not just the characters that we portray inside of
Right,
wrestling
right,
movies
right.
or on the interwebs.
Or on the
Here,
interwebs.
here's Phil and
Uh,
Bruce just talking about what comes through our head. But
right, right. Uh, but yeah, man, this has been a super huge blast, and I think we're coming to the. We've been on for about an hour and 45 minutes, and I feel like that's
woo,
a good a
that's
good
that's a little
time
good.
to good chunk of change to fold it up and
Absolutely.
call it good. I appreciate you coming on, and
Absolutely.
good
Well,
luck in your journeys, and like I said, man, it's
absolutely.
good times, good
Well,
informative time.
well, thank you for having me, Bruce.
Absolutely.
It's always it's always fun to talk with you. And I've been wanting to do this since like episode one for sure because
Oh hell yeah, dude. That I
I was
appreciate
just
you
learning
saying
more and
that.
more about it because I was and I popped big. I think we said this before we went on air, but I popped really big whenever I heard the wrestling with ADHD thing. I was like, that's the perfect title for a pod.
Right,
Yes, let's
right.
go.
Well, look, like
And
when I searched it, I was kind of worried because
yeah,
I was gonna like I don't want to do anything that obviously that somebody else has done before, because
sure,
especially in wrestling, you get those looks like, you're trying to copy. You can't be
yeah,
yourself. You ain't got enough talent to be yourself.
uh-huh,
Gotta go be somebody else.
right,
No, everybody that I'm being is somebody that I came up with for the most part. So I Googled it. I gave it a Googs. I dropped it in the whole Goog brain, and
got a googs.
I seen one person had one episode. It was a different podcast, but their episode was called Wrestling with ADHD, and I was like, well, it's
Okay,
official. Well, it's official. I'm gonna name my podcast that, and it's descriptive as much as it is entertaining to think
yeah,
about. I love the the visual in my head of being in a ring and wrestling with a the physical embodiment of ADHD, and
yeah.
sometimes I'm on top, and sometimes they're on top, and hopefully I kick out at two.
We're not tapping out on this
We're
one
not,
just
yeah,
yet, brother.
I'm not tapping out.
I'm finding that reversal.
I'm putting a shoot headlock in. I got my knuckles to his face.
Like, oh, Guri, that dude sticks the forearm right to the
right,
fucking face.
right.
Oh,
Uh,
God.
but yeah, man, I had a blast. Everybody that watched, at one point we had 6 viewers. That will
That's
definitely
awesome.
go. That's the it. Like I said, the actual live, it's kind of low, but I get the analytics on the back end, and
Okay.
after a couple of days, do those numbers jump up. I actually had like episode like the first 3 or 4 episodes, like just just last week, like
Yeah.
they were like popping into my feed, and I'm like, shit, I need to probably do another one of these before it's already November and I've been off for a whole year. Like, people
Yeah.
forget that I even do it anymore.
Well, I hope you can get into maybe once a month or something like that,
I thought
doing
about
an
that.
episode.
Like, I think like I was doing it like every other Tuesday that was on the off
Sure.
days that we were doing the Cryptids podcast. And I have a lot of fun doing that. And so on the weeks that we were doing the cryptids, I would
Yeah.
the weeks off, I would do the ADHD thing. But I've had several
Uh,
people, like, make that suggestion about, hey man, just make it like a once a month thing. You won't blow through as many people, because
that's true.
as many people that have reached out to me, dude. I'm not I'm not scraping the bottom of the barrel by any means, because there are
Uh,
people out there that wanna come on. But I mean, I think it was just I saw the and just to kind of give a little peek behind the curtain again, so to speak. I think I saw that my guest list was starting to go down, of guys that I 100% knew, because a lot of guys, like me, I don't just just put it out there like, hi, I've got ADHD.
Yeah.
So like a lot of guys that came on early on, like the only reason why they even were on was because they saw that I was doing the podcast and were like, oh shit, I've got ADHD. I'd love to come on. And I'm like, oh my, there he is.
Right.
And you're back. You went away for a
Oh,
split second.
okay.
Um,
Well,
I
I don't know what
yeah,
happened.
yeah, it's weird. But no, like I was saying, like I had a lot of guys that reached out to me, early on, and they were like, "Holy shit, I got ADHD. I'd love to come on." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Bet." So then, like, I almost, like just blasted through a lot of guys really early, and then like once I started coming close to the end of my list, I'm like, well, I'm gonna take a couple of weeks off, and then those couple of weeks turned into shit almost 5 months.
Good.
But I'm glad to be back now, and I think I am going to take your breaking news, just now released information.
Oh.
Wrestling with ADHD and Bruce is now going to a once a month format. Uh, that will save all of us. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate that. Little insight. You were the one that tipped it over the top and made it
Well, good.
official. It makes a lot more sense, I mean, like eventually I'd like to do this a lot more, but I think it'll be better with this type of podcast and with this type of format to
Yeah.
really do that once a month. It'll give it a little more prestige, I think.
I think so too. I think it'll give you just a little more time to maybe work on some other guests besides just wrestlers.
Right,
Just
right. And
people
don't
who.
get me wrong, I've got referees, I've got managers, I've even got a couple of promoters that want to come on. And
Well, I mean,
I,
all that's good. What I'm saying is, though, maybe for you bring all the wrestling people and then just have see if you can figure out a therapist or something
oh my
just to help
gosh.
talk
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I never even thought about that. I just
because I
I
mean,
I was
could
just
you could use that to help us, right?
right.
As
Look,
much
I
as
was
anything.
I was 100% just focused on the wrestling aspect of ADHD,
Yeah.
and look at
Well, I
me
mean,
go learning new
even a
things.
therapist, even a therapist may be able to help connect the dots why we choose wrestling over some of the
Right.
other stuff.
Right.
I mean, like,
Dude, that's
why aren't we
totally
just in
gosh dang
theater?
it.
Or, why aren't we the normal drama kids?
Yeah,
Why is
yeah. Why,
wrestling the
why aren't
media
we?
that
Yeah,
we get
why
into?
aren't why are we just not focusing on theater and since we want to be entertainers and we want to we're cosplayers basically,
Right.
larpers. Why did our brains choose the entertainment aspect and the physicality of wrestling? I love that. I actually have. Gosh dang it, this is a good
Right.
thing. This is so good.
Write it
Um,
down.
dude,
Get your notebook.
get my notebook out. I, So I got my phone right here. I'm gonna write
There
this
you
in
go.
here real quick.
Do it. Get it done.
But yeah, get other people besides wrestlers
Just wrestling.
on the
Uh,
pod.
I don't know if you still talk to a psychologist or therapist or anything like that,
Yes, yeah,
uh,
absolutely. In fact, I've got a
but
I've got a meeting in a couple of days with my therapist.
maybe a
Um
discussion you could have with them to see how that would go and what that would take, type stuff.
yeah, yeah, for sure. That would be great. Heck yeah. I'm glad yeah, dude. Thank you so much. Dude, I'm telling
No
you.
problem. I've been thinking about this too.
Always the
Ever since you
always the
put this out, it's like, oh, hey, look, you could do this and this and this. And there's other things you can do with this pod and still be about wrestling and ADHD.
Well,
It's
dude, I'm telling you, the next couple of shows we're on, you're gonna have a shadow because I'm gonna be following you around. Like, and what other
okay,
ideas do you have?
whatever. Oh, we can get a discussion about it. It would be a
Hell
thing. So,
yeah, hell yeah, dude.
but yeah, just hit me up. We'll talk about it. I got
Oh,
some
for
stuff we'll
sure,
talk
for
about.
sure.
So, but
All right,
yeah,
guys.
I know we're procrastinating for another 10 minutes, but thank you for having me, Brucey. Wrap this thing
Absolutely.
up and
Thanks.
let's go to
Thanks for
bed,
thanks
boss.
for coming. Yeah, it's getting almost 10 o'clock. Shit. We
Yeah,
started at 8.
yeah. I'm old. Fucking
All right.
8:42 is my bedtime.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. For those that stuck around for the whole time, I really appreciate you. And y'all guys are the reason why I do this, not just to learn about yourselves, but also to learn about myself as well. Um, thank you again. Stay tuned for a Facebook update on the next episode. I do love that. I love that. I love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, guys.
Take it, run with it.
Gonna run with it. All right, I'm gonna exit the stream. See y'all guys. Thank you so much,
May the force be with you, Bruce, and
and may the
everybody
force
watching.
absolutely.
Hey, Mr. Top, non-figure